How you doing?
I'm doing great, man.
How old are you? Can I ask you how old you are?
Actors don't tell.
Don't you can't tell me how old you are? You're a kid though, right?
No, I'm a grown man.
Okay. How old were you when James Brown was doing what James Brown did? Were you a kid? Were you older? Were you younger?
Well, he's been around a long time. I was a kid, I was older, I was everything.
Paul and I saw this movie, and you're wonderful in the film. Congratulations on just a great job.
You, man.
Because
So true. Unbelievable.
and it's the kind of movie, and Paul and I discussed this, when it's over, we're disappointed that it's over because we want more James Brown in our lives. So when the story comes to an end, we're sad. And when you see it like that, you realize what a great contribution he made to American musical culture. You did a fantastic job.
Well, man, it's been a blessing to my life because now every time I hear James Brown, I feel it all vibrating through my, like, it's been a great night just sitting here listening to the band play.
Yeah, but that guy.
All for you.
You went to his home and saw what his place was like and spent some time, I guess, meeting his friends, meeting his family before he did depart?
Yeah, well, Tate Taylor, the director, and I wanted to travel to Augusta and just get a feel for, you know, where he was from and get a feel for him. We went in all the bedrooms and bathrooms and closets. And the thing I enjoyed the most, that I think I got the most from, is I sat in the red truck. The red truck from the car chase. If you've seen the movie or if you've seen any of the news footage, I sat in that truck for like 30 minutes and just meditated. And it was amazing because I was like, I know this guy. He's my uncle. He's a cousin of mine. He's
really
my grandfather.
Got a sense of the man himself.
As opposed to like him being this huge icon. You know, he was.
And he was on our show many times, and Paul played with him, and it was always fantastic. But I never knew the story of the guy, and he was in prison as a youngster, and his best friend met him and took him out of prison, took him home, and they'd stayed best friends most of their lives, didn't they? But Bobby Bird?
Bobby Bird, they died a year apart. When Bobby Bird passed, James Brown passed the next year. They were that close that you know, they needed to be here together, and they were brothers.
There's a scene in the movie that I dearly love. Mick Jagger is one of the producers of the film.
Right.
And a couple of years ago, I showed my son the tape of the Tammy Show. And it was current to contemporary rock and roll artists from, I think, the 60s.
Right.
And James Brown and the Flames were appearing, but they didn't close the show.
Right.
The show was to be closed by the Rolling Stones.
Right.
So I showed my son that 18-minute performance by James Brown, and even he said, well, why didn't they close the show? It's tremendous. And then there's the scene in the movie when you walk by and there's the kid playing Mick Jagger, and you say, welcome to the United States. Now, what version of that actually happened?
Well, definitely the Rolling Stones closed the show when James Brown was upset about it.
Right. But there was no real reason. I mean, it should always be James Brown.
Well, you don't want to go after him.
No.
You don't want to go after him. You know, the real story Mick Jagger tells it is actually was more involved than what we could show. We didn't have time to show it. And when Mick Jagger tells the story, he says, you know, he was the only one who knew James Brown because he had come to his shows at the Apollo. He had gone backstage. So he was like 20 years old, and James Brown was a grown man. He was in his 30s. And, you know, Mick Jagger looked up to him. He looked at him as someone who was a front man. So he was learning from him to a certain extent. And so the producers were scared to tell James Brown, you know, you're not closing the show. And so they put it on him. At this 20-year-old,
they made
Mick Jagger go explain it to him. And you know, Mick Jagger actually, one of his gifts at the end of the movie was he sent me a picture. It's a well-known photo of them talking in that moment, you know. And so it's on my wall.
So it's Mick Jagger explaining to James, guess what? you're not closing the show.
Yeah.
Oh my
I know,
God.
I know I've come to see you play, and you know I've given you your adoration, giving you my adoration, but now I'm closing.
Whoa. and if you see the video, and it's everywhere on the internet, it really shouldn't have happened that way. You know, we have the Rolling Stones, that was great, and now it's James Brown because he just blows the roof off the dump, for God's sake.
Well, it's like the crowd keeps telling him to come back.
Yeah, that's
for
right.
more.
Yeah,
So.
it was delightful. And you dancing. And nobody dances like James Brown.
Nobody.
So you really got to, I mean, you go to school, or you go to Arthur Murray? How do you learn to...
the James Brown
Yeah,
dancing
how do you
school.
learn to dance like James Brown, for God's sakes?
I Googled it before I took the role. the
Yeah,
James Brown dancing
yeah.
school. No, we had an amazing choreographer who Mick Jagger introduced us to. AJ, Achman Jones. Achman Jones is just, it's like he understands the body in a certain way, breaking things down in a way
Right,
that
but he ain't
nobody
out there
else.
doing it. I mean, how many times are you, the splits, a human's not supposed to move like that.
Right.
I mean, if you do that once, then you're in the hospital the rest of your life. How many times did you have to do that in the movie?
I have no idea how many times I had to do it in the movie. I know there was one particular show, the Olympia show. We were filming it for like 15 hours, and I did like 90 splits in that day.
Mighty.
In that day.
Had you ever in your life done one of those on purpose?
Not on purpose or by accident.
I mean, okay, maybe you can get down like that, but how? And then you got to just, like you're shot out of a cannon, jump right back up.
Yeah, it was like a real exercise program, like
Yeah.
to get it. Like the first time, I definitely did not get back up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What a delightful movie. You've seen the movie. How many times have you seen it?
I've only seen it 3 times.
3 times. I like Paul and I said we would like to see it every night, because how many times, Paul, did you play with James Brown on this show?
Well, it's, 5, 6 times.
Yeah.
Each time was a music lesson.
Right?
Each time was phenomenal. Each time we would go home, all of us in the band, and say, I can't believe what we just did.
Yeah. Well, you know what I found interesting, and Paul could discuss this, I guess. You can discuss this. Every instrument, beside the drums, he wanted to be as though they were drums.
Right.
Wanted the guitar to be as a drum, the horns to be as a drum.
Right.
And that only makes sense when you hear the music. That's exactly what was going on. Nobody did that. Nobody does that now, do they, Paul?
No. Well, now it's just you're a computer, and you're a computer.
Yeah.
So it's a similar kind of...
Yeah.